So I'm going to talk about repairing the skin barrier. And I'm going to focus on one particular study, the Restore study, where we've compared a highly sophisticated, beautiful, emollient, ceramide-rich formulation with some very basic formulations. And it's led by our brilliant skin barrier scientist, Simon Danby. And this is our team. You can see us on Sheffield Dermatology Research. Absolutely incredible team. Good formulations, your best team. Worst formulations, your worst team. So we're looking at skin barrier in atopic dermatitis, skin barrier in normal skin, and comparing them. And we've been looking at different formulations and how they interact with the skin barrier. So I want to start first with a normal, perfect skin barrier, this baby that will never develop atopic dermatitis. And you remember, as Enzo said, Peter Elias's beautiful work looking at the skin barrier as a brick wall. And if you look inside, you see the lipid lamellae, a highly ordered, a beautiful, smooth structure. And as a result, there's low transepidermal water loss and low allergen penetration through the skin. Not only do we have beautiful formulations now, but now we have beautiful technology to measure their effects. And this is infrared spectroscopy. It is so non-invasive, we use it in newborn babies. And we can measure inside the skin ceramides, natural moisturizing factor. And we can produce profiles within the skin in normal skin and in atopic dermatitis. So here you can see the profiles, and you can see normal skin has a very ordered lipid lamellae, and atopic dermatitis, a very disordered lipid lamellae. And we can plot this on a graph, and here you compare healthy, non-lesional, and lesional, all with this simple probe on the skin. And then if we look at atopic dermatitis, again with these beautiful diagrams originally from Peter Elias, you can see the disordered lipid lamellae in this baby with atopic dermatitis, totally different from the ordered lipid lamellae in perfect normal skin. And as a result, allergens penetrate through that disordered barrier in atopic dermatitis, triggering flares of the disease. Ah, yes. So now we're back to the football. So, thinking of your best football team, we have sophisticated formulations containing occlusives, petrolatum, ceramides, fatty acids, cholesterol, glycerin, ingredients of natural moisturizing factor. And then we have your worst football team thinking of these very basic formulations that just have occlusives and water. No ceramides, no fatty acids, no cholesterol. But they're promoted as being the same, no different. So not all formulations are the same. They are completely different in terms of their formulation. But what we've always needed is randomized clinical trials that demonstrate that they are totally and utterly different in what they do to the skin. This was our first Restore study, a very quick single application just to get an idea of the different products. And we have ceramide-containing creams, and then we have these really basic formulations. And we just do one application, and then we measure hydration. And the message is really simple. So this is time, this is hydration, and the ceramide-containing emollients produce prolonged hydration, 8, 12 hours and longer, while the basic formulations produce no improvement in hydration. In fact, they're no different from no treatment. So this spurred us on to move to a more sophisticated study, phase 2. Before I get there, I'll just look at some of the delivery characteristics of the ceramide formulation. You can see ceramides were increased by 10%, cholesterol by 13%, and fatty acids by 11%. So the formulation was delivering into the skin. So this is phase 2, Restore 2. So we start with the ceramide-rich emollient and Zerabase, a very basic emollient, just occlusives and water. And then we measure barrier function throughout the study. And then here's an SLS irritation test. And we had 28 patients. It's right-left comparison, so it's very easy to get a study powered with about 20 to 30 patients. History of atopic dermatitis, dry skin, and we actually defined barrier function in them, and they had a CHUL of more than 10. And we did look at the different age groups, which I'll come back to later. From young patients to mature, we define maturity from 40 to 100, and please remember old age is after 100. So this is the first one. So here we're looking at ceramide containing emollient compared to the basic emollient, and we're delivering lipids. And you can see the ceramide emollient is delivering lipids. And this is tape strips, so we're digging down through the skin, and you can see quite profound delivery of lipids. Nothing delivered from the basic cream, because it doesn't contain any ceramides. And then we're actually looking at the structure of the lipid lamellae with infrared spectroscopy. And you remember when Peter Elias, years ago, came up with this idea of ceramide-rich emollients? And some people said, well, does it actually deliver? Well, it does. This ceramide-rich emollient delivers. And it delivers because we can pick up the difference. We can pick up the difference in the lipid lamellae. So you can see that the ceramide-rich emollient produces an ordered lipid lamellae. It takes it back to ordered, normal skin, while the basic emollient stays deranged, broken up, disordered lipid lamellae. So not only does it deliver the ceramides into the skin, the sophisticated emollient changes the lipid lamellae within the skin and restores the barrier function. Skin dryness, again, this correlates beautifully with the repair of the lipid lamellae. And you can see that the ceramide-rich emollient repairs and relieves the dry skin, while the basic emollient has no effect on dry skin. They are completely different functionally and clinically. Next, we look at skin barrier integrity. This measures the strength of the skin barrier. And you'll remember the cornea desmosomes lock the skin cells together. So what we do is we take tape strips off. We're stressing the skin, and then we measure transepidermal water loss. So here you can see 5 strips, 10 strips, 15, 20. Then you look at the transepidermal water loss. If it's high, it's bad. If it's low, it's good. And you can see the ceramide-rich emollient, low transepidermal water loss after tape strips, while the basic emollient has a very high transepidermal water loss. And here you can see this here again. The ceramide-rich emollient, low transepidermal water loss. The basic emollient, high transepidermal water loss. And then if we look at skin barrier integrity and the delivery of the lipids into the skin barrier, you can see there's a correlation between increased skin barrier integrity and ordering, as opposed to disordering, of the lipid lamellae. So the more ordered the lipid lamellae, which is with the ceramide-rich emollient, the greater the strength of the skin barrier. And then we want to stress the barrier further. So we do an SLS irritation test. And then we measure, as a standard SLS irritation test, 24 hours afterwards, we measure erythema. And you can see, the ceramide-rich emollient has much lower erythema than the basic emollient, Zerabase, because it has repaired the skin barrier. So it's made it resilient to the irritation of the sodium lauryl sulfate. So on every parameter, the ceramide-rich emollient repairs the barrier, delivers the ceramides into the skin, and makes it resilient and resilient against irritation from SLS. So in conclusion, we've been able to demonstrate that an MVE technology delivering ceramides into the skin is totally and utterly different from a basic emollient. It can repair the skin barrier unlike a basic emollient. So not all emollient formulations are the same. Thank you very much for your attention.